Have you ever felt that the more deeply you think, the harder it is to connect with others? That your thoughts travel too far beyond where most conversations are willing to go? If so, you're not alone, and you're not broken. In fact, you're part of a long lineage of minds who dare to look deeper even when the world looked away. From Diogenes challenging society with a lantern in daylight, to Simone Weil starving for truth in silence, the world has rarely known what to do with those who refuse to think shallowly. But why is it that deeper thought so often leads to isolation? Let's begin with something uncomfortable. Most people don't want truth, they want comfort. The average conversation is not a search for understanding, but a mutual agreement to stay inside familiar territory. When you introduce a new perspective, especially one that challenges the norm, you're not just being interesting, you're disrupting the script. And for many, that feels threatening. You see, intelligence doesn't just inform, it confronts. When you express a nuanced idea, you're not just sharing knowledge, you're exposing a gap. And that gap reminds people of what they've avoided, ignored, or never questioned. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance, that sharp discomfort we feel when we're forced to face contradictions in our beliefs. Now imagine being the person who triggers that feeling just by speaking your mind. Deep thinkers unintentionally become mirrors, and not everyone enjoys looking into them. It's not arrogance, it's awareness, a quiet kind of truth that unnerves those who are too used to the noise. And this is where isolation begins, not because deep thinkers hate people, but because people often resist the depth that makes them think. Think about it. Strength is admired, beauty is celebrated. But intellect? Intellect is often questioned, criticized, or even ridiculed. Why? Because unlike beauty or wealth, which are external, intelligence is internal. It shakes the foundation of how others see themselves. A smarter mind doesn't just exist. It compares, it contrasts, it disturbs the equilibrium. And in social dynamics, disturbance is rarely welcomed. This is what the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche meant when he said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But what if your why isolates you? What if your purpose, your curiosity, your constant questioning leaves you alienated in a world more interested in comfort than clarity? That's the paradox. The deeper your mind goes, the fewer companions you find willing to travel with you. But here's where things shift. Solitude isn't always loneliness, and silence isn't always absence. In fact, many deep thinkers find their greatest clarity not in crowds, but in quiet. This is where the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard found peace. For him, truth was not a group project, it was a personal journey, a leap inward, one that demanded solitude, not applause. He wasn't antisocial, he was simply unwilling to trade authenticity for acceptance. And maybe that's the lesson. Maybe the isolation of deep thinkers isn't a curse, but a calling. A space where ideas are sharpened, where thoughts evolve without interruption, where truth can rise, unfiltered by social expectations. But that doesn't mean you have to disappear into a cave of your own mind. It means you must choose your circles carefully. Seek those who value depth over drama, clarity over convenience. Seek minds that don't flinch at complexity, and hearts that remain curious, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Because when deep thinkers find each other, isolation turns into resonance. So, if you ever feel disconnected in a shallow world, don't shrink your thoughts just to fit in. Expand them. And remember, solitude is not the absence of people, but the presence of self.